The movie opens with a young boy called Seiji, who saw the girl Akane enjoying her privacy. Looking at Seiji, she tells him that this year, they both would attend courses together. Yet Seiji tells him that he hates Akane. After saying so, he walks away. Akane was shocked and said, then Akane's eyes opened, and as it happens, it was just a dream. Seiji had, in fact, already informed Akane this, which gave Akane pause, because she was constantly enamored with Seiji. Due to inadequate confidence, Akane wore a mask in her own school all the time, but no one in her house knew about it. Akane got ready for school quickly. She goes down the stairs to where her mother used to reside. Serving Akane's breakfast after preparing her sisters, she gets breakfast from her stepfather. But Akane forgoes breakfast and goes to sit down in the alcove. Akane feels as though she is not in contact with her family, even though this, meanwhile, all that was on her mind as she sent the two sisters off to Akane's mother requests that she order a cake for her stepfather's birthday, after learning which Akane asks what she should get him a birthday present. But her mother steps up and says she will finally refer to him as her father when she does perfect gift for her. On her way back, she asks Akane to pick Rhino up from school, altering her initial plan. Akane removes her by going to the bus stop there. Mask, dons it, and travels to the school. Akane asks her students to prepare your performance for the school fair, but she doesn't hear back. Nevertheless, she is the class monitor, but it's not being used by many individuals. Observe her closely. As soon as she says the same thing twice, several boys claim that they won't play unless Seiji prepares them. Akane is not sure how to go, and then Seiji suddenly walks into the classroom. Everybody asks for Seiji. However, he says no. Furthermore, Akane requests him, but there is nothing touched Seiji's strong skin. Finally, everyone gives up and asks Akane to take leadership of the group. Akane gives a firm yes response. Akane is given clarification by her friend Ake that she cannot take full responsibility for all on oneself. However, as per Akane, there is having run out of options. The principal has encouraged her to take part in the mandatory school festival. Sayaka, having belonged to numerous groups in the past, couldn't help Akane as much as she wanted to. One of the art class exercises requires every student to compose a piece that will be about a single student and read aloud to the class, but the identity of that young person will stay out of sight. When Akane first starts writing an essay about Seiji, she keeps writing even though she doesn't understand. When the students started reading the comments, it was written about a teenage boy who's still a girl, but he's amusing. Detest him. When he reads this, he gets upset, and the entire class makes fun of him. The next turn is taken by Akane. She starts reading the most recent comment and becomes silent. As said in the prior comment, under the mask, she keeps her emotions hidden, and that leaves her in the end. When she had finished reading this, she claimed there was nothing comparable to it. As the break was in operation, Akane was eating dinner while sitting on the steps of another building when someone tosses a piece of paper containing the "it" was written in the prior comment about Akane. She answered immediately. He looks up, covered up. That was Seiji who'd thrown that paper. Seiji Akane. Akane lets her know that she actually uses masks to hide everything, instead of her emotions and persistent lies, just as she had praised Seiji's artwork, even if she hadn't even laid eyes on one of Seiji's creations. Akane turns to leave after saying this. She takes off the disguise as she gets back to the bus station and takes out the diary she had written about a day's activities, after which she stays at home with her sister all day's work. At night, Akane has dinner and goes back to her chamber. When she has seen her family happy, she feels abandoned again. She stays up all night researching and accidentally flashes her finger. She uses her pen to mop up the blood, but it's pointless. She dismisses him and goes back to her homework and takes a nap there. The following day, Akane wakes up late and heads straight to the bus stop where the car was prepared to leave. But strangely, she boards the bus. She looks for anything to wear as a mask. But she's not able to, because Akane gets anxious when she can't find it anywhere. She immediately puts a handkerchief over her face, but she is still having panic attacks. Akane, instead of going to the school's physical location. Seated on the earth is she and starts to feel sick. Then Seiji passes by and sees Akane's impoverished condition, stops to help her. Seiji gives Akane a bottle of water and a mask, the initial individual to take hold of the mask. Following its use, she gets in touch with her mother, who asks how Akane is doing after receiving a phone call from Akane's teacher, notifying her not yet reached the school. Akane asserts and exaggerates that she had left her necessities at home. She plans to acknowledge this, and she has a class boy, CG. Mother of Akane feels if the child is the cause of her bombing the school. Therefore, she starts becoming angry with him. So Akane becomes upset and decides to head to school. CG seems to be attempting to convince her that Akane doesn't care about her bad health. She goes to the school's teacher's office, where because of her low grades, Akane's teacher asks her to work harder. Akane then goes to the free seminar. She asks the children to come to the auditorium to practice. However, no one notices her since they are too focused on their work. Consequently, she develops into melancholy and isolates themselves. She gives a furious blow. Touching her finger with a pen brings back the anguish of the past. Next, enraged, CG clutches her hand and carries her inside the news conference where he informs all of her students that if they don't arrive in the auditorium after 5 minutes, then no one will be worse than her in 5 minutes. When everyone gets there, a few boys advise CG that for which discipline he should follow. CG promises to start showing up today and describes the full performance and shows the notes that Akane took. Akane spends the evening with her stepfather. Furthermore, Akane gives her a pocketbook, which she enjoys a great deal. Akane then takes a bite of her dessert and starts entering her room the moment she immediately notices her mask in her mother's hands. She yells at her, "This is for the festival." The next day, everybody was as they were leaving for their accommodations after the final rehearsal. Akane's gaze was fixed on the painting room. Akane gets drawn to an artwork she spots there, like it was made especially for her. Taking note of this, she removes her disguise as well, appearing agitated. But the moment she turns to face CG, she puts the mask back on. CG takes the initiative and lays a name tag below the piece of art, which Akane finds surprising to notice. She informs CG. She asserts that if she has produced such beautiful artwork, her surroundings will also be very nice. And she starts crying as she says this, which CG attempts to stifle as a result of her constant chatting. CG asks her to come with him. And finally, she brings him to the rooftop where CG used to build his artistic studio. She tells CG that his situation is really astounding, to which CG replies that every individual's, the earth, the world, is beautiful. Is it not delicious because it is his? When Akane asks CG what this means, and he says that he views everything he sees as after that, he moves closer to Akane and starts to give her a forehead stroke. But Akane does not allow him to do so he starts claiming ownership of everything he observes. Rei was entirely accurate. She can take note of other people's emotions and expressions, but she keeps hers a secret from everyone who is not truly in love with herself. When she starts to give herself unconditional love will become easier for her. When she heard this, Akane said with a vengeful tone. She says he doesn't know anything about her life. She is known to one, and she takes off the mask, cries, and tells CG, "I hate you." CG also looks at her silently. Akane retreats to a corner and lets out a lot of tears. When she needs everyone. When he was younger, he didn't have any friends, and everyone was just gave him the assignment without even asking for it. What he wanted and what he hated the most was his mother. CG was watching everything, smiles that everything went according to plan. Then, he holds Akane's hand and lifts her up. Akane apologizes to CG and says she's feeling amazing at the moment. The Akane the next day at the bus stop remembers CG's words prior to donning the mask, however. Due to her insecurity, she donning a mask, Saya leaves Akane by herself. Walks to a corner wearing a medal and claims that they should glory at the school festival. And Akane is the only one responsible. Akane, however, gives CG full credit and they then look for CG. When Huey gets to the terrace, she asks CG why he consistently paints the sky. Declares CG, claims that he is drawn to the sky and ranks second on his list of beautiful things. When Akane first asks him, CG observes. He says it's surprising, and when Akane receives a letter from her mother after reading, makes her angry. She puts on the mask and lets CG know that she is presently most comfortable when the mask is not in front of him. CG, upon hearing this, approaches her more closely. Applies paint to the mask after seeing CG. So close to Akane's heartbeat quickens. As she comes down from the roof, looks at her painting first in the mirror. She is quite happy to see it. All of the school's football games are played during the competition. as Sayaka and Akane exchange scores.
Sayaka tells Akane that she used to have exceptional skill in soccer, yet why did she stop playing? As far as Akane is concerned, she quit playing soccer while she was in primary school, after her parents' separation. As Akane goes to the bathroom, she hears some ladies conversing about how Akane is pressuring Seiji to agree, and he fell in love with her while pretending to be innocent. After hearing everything, Akane strolls tearfully to Sayaka's class, where she has pals. She asks her why she is crying and hugs her when she notices this, but Akane doesn't tell her anything. Sayaka is adamant, and she tosses her aside. Seiji was seeing all of this from a distance. Holding on to Akane's hand, he lets the instructor know that they will both be missing class, and he takes her out from there. Akane appears, starts crying, and expresses to Seiji her wish to have a reconciliation with Sayaka. However, she can no longer perform it, and she doesn't want to go back to school anyway. Wants time to stop, to which Seiji asserts knowledge of a place where time stops, to which Akane answers as Seiji has said that it isn't practical, asks her to accompany him. Akane takes up Seiji's she is riding her bike and following him. As he grasps her hand and brings her close to him, giving her a tight embrace, he leads Kani to an end and asks her to sit down. Theme park that was far from the school, which housed all of the swings, were paused as though time itself had come to a halt. There, they were enjoying each other's company immensely. In the evening came, Seiji cooked Akane. Have her sit on a swing, please. Look closely and tell me what color the sun is. Akane is incredibly gifted these days. She had no idea about it. Finally, she starts making puns. Seiji tells her that this color is called Akano. Akane discovers that her name indicates a hue. Seiji goes on to say that the Akano flower actually has leaves that are dried, removing its color. She asks him what Seiji means, to which he replies that the color that appears above the ears after sunset is, Seiji then says, after this, that he's always liked the dark more than the dawn. But Akane finds it enjoyable. She thought sunrise was better than he showed her that. Here, they can wait for morning together for the whole night, and Akane happily agrees. Seiji asks Akane abruptly whether she was this way all along, said Akane. No, earlier on, she was pretty talkative, and although she was self-assured, a series of incidents later in life made her change. She was falsely accused of stealing that particular day at school, and no one believed what she said. Back then, her parents furthermore divorced. When he arrived, she became completely silent, and after switching to a different school, she decided that she would grow up to be such a reserved girl that the instructors all adore. Then, when Seiji asks her about the history of the mask, she says it was essential that she wear this mask. Started because of the infection, but she subsequently evolved into, she was so comfortable in it that she didn't even take it off. She then asks Seiji about the outcome. When they had first met, April Seiji had told her that he hates her. But in what way? Is the reason for this, says Seiji, who asserts that she forgets all such information, and then he sits very near Akane, and Akane is given Seiji teases her, wondering whether she's feeling uneasy. Thinks he's going to kiss her. Next, Akane says that it's not the case at all. Seiji claims that he did not at first like her, since he thought Akane hid her emotions. Before he is done speaking, Akane receives a call from her mother. Once at home, when Akane sees her, her mother becomes enraged with her that evening. Before chatting with Akane, Seiji gives herself complete authority. Later that night, Akane's mum seems somewhat distressed, once she learned that Akane is a traveller to class wearing a mask. Moreover, she was told that she should, but she feels terrified. Stay away from damaging her life by pursuing a boy. But Akane, their dad, advises them that they should trust in Akane and give her life as she leads a comfortable cocoon. In class the next day, Akane meets Sayaka, where the two friends first connect, clarify the situation, and get things back to normal. Next, Sayaka asks if Akane is still in love with Seiji. It was clear from her gaze now. Even though she knows the answer is yes, she starts to argue against it. given that he has not been seen with Seiji's callous girl, and now he shares a home with Akane alone. Hearing this, Akane flushes. Every student in the class is asked by the teacher to finish their career documentation on the last day, and if the students have not finished the documentation, he will not receive a request to attend the interview. Akane assembles all of the career forms when things are quiet, and strolls up to the teacher's office after hearing two teachers talking about Seiji and the way he's not yet finished his career forms. A teacher involved in this exercise claims that Seiji can get a wonderful opportunity to study abroad. Due of his proficiency in painting, he will likewise be awarded a scholarship, but she's not sure what he wants out of this. Akane compares Seiji's shape to every form that it has been in recently. When she vanishes to talk to Seiji about she runs into her 8 instructors, who ask Akane to talk to Seiji about studying abroad because of Akane is among Seiji's closest pals, and they let Akane know that he informs Seiji that now is the time for him to let go of the past. So when she hears it, Akane asks which before, when the art instructor thinks that Akane not be aware of Seiji's history, so he avoids the conversation and walks out of there. Akane then pays Seiji a visit on the roof and lets him know that he must finish his professional form, tells him more about the art teacher that he should move on from his past, which Seiji asks, what does she know about his history? Which Akane remains silent because she is not aware of Seiji's history. Then, Seiji tells her that when she knows nothing, thus she should remain silent, and yet he leaves, after becoming enraged. In the evening, Akane's mom comes up to her and asks her whether the boy who came with her is the identical boy who used to be her partner, who in elementary school went by Shi-chan. He got his hair colored a new color. Consequently, he was unable to recognize him and shows him the pictures of the primary school and assertions that Shi-chan had left the school because of a serious sickness. And Akane asks what kind of illness he was suffering from, that his mother claims she probably had cancer, though she is no longer able to remember specifics. Akane completely stops talking after hearing this. She recalls her school days when she remembers Shi-chan. At school the next day, as Akane waits for Seiji, he ignores school and turns to the art teacher for comfort. Someone who tells her that the CG is he's doing very well now. He had therapy for cancer when he was younger. Now all he has to do is take his regular tests, and he is still going today. Only for exams. When she leaves the classroom, Akane starts waiting for Seiji to arrive, returns after nightfall to the school, where his teacher gives him a leaflet about studying abroad and tells him that this is his moment. Everything he needs to utilize, failing which, he must depart to school later. After that, nothing will remain but sadness, is aware of how difficult it may be to recover from a disease like cancer. But as of right now, he's fully all right. He cannot bear to live in constant fear of when the sickness will return. Should it do so, he's positive he'll beat it. After that, as Seiji proceeds down the corridor, he discovers a torch that was once owned by Akane's phone. They look at each other with delight and move closer to one another. Seiji brings Akane to class and remembers once inquiring of him what was the first thing on his list of beautiful things. He informed Kani of his playing football for the primary school team while he was a student, but due to his physical weakness, he consistently missed them. He once conquered the team, for which the gang tormented him non-stop, and after that, a chatty girl emerged. And amazing. She was a talented football player as well, which her team started winning. Seiji, that girl was a hero, but after all that, why bother since that girl already knows? Not even remember her name? Akane stands up and acknowledges Seiji by name and apologizes. Observing which of the two surprises, Seiji first then asks how he managed to find out everything, which Akane reports. That's what she says. Seiji tells her after her mother informed her last night that the elementary school pen that was taken, and Akane was charged with truly taken by Seiji, Akane learned to stop talking. And Seiji states that even after she began to despise Akane, she spoke out in front of the entire class about her larceny. might have gone to speak with Seiji alone, but he destroyed everything, which is why, after hearing everything, Akane admitted that he detested her. Love to him. Following that, the two proceed to the rooftop, where Seiji remarks that he continues to fear the onset of his illness in order for him to never be able to see Akane once more, according to Akane. That's his apprehension, so why doesn't he paint her? He did it, acknowledging that whatever he can see is his world, so they both paint his universe collectively. And then following that, they both begin painting the ceiling. Having spent the entire night outside, when Akane gets home, her mother chastises her repeatedly. Akane was able to observe her silhouette behind her reprimanding, so she began to cry. Observing her sobbing intensely, her parents chastise her, and she then expresses regret for arriving late to her mother. Finally, everything in their family returns to normal, and everyone happily takes a seat for dinner. Now, the tale advances by 5 years, where Akane's mother is always nagging her to eat, disconnects the phone, and after that Akane senses someone whistling behind her. Seiji used to blow in her school days. She hangs up the phone and comes after that to an art gallery, whistling where every picture that Seiji and Akane had constructed together were displayed on the rooftop, which causes Akane to become very moved. And Seiji then appears from behind. Observing Akane is really thrilled since he had welcomed the prospect of travelling overseas. And now, 5 years later, he has returned. Here is their love story. Happy ending. Thanks for watching.